There you go.
And
Perfect.
let's touch on this first big point. Like people want to
Yep.
fix what bugs them. And so I think like not having a culture that actually supports continuous improvement is a complete tragedy. Because whether you have, like a small firm of maybe 5 to 10 people, or you have somewhere between, 500 and 1,000 people, they want to fix what bugs them. And if you don't have the culture in place to support it, it's a complete tragedy, right? You're going to have all kinds of problems, I think, within your company, within your culture, and it doesn't have to be that way. There are certain levers that you can pull, things that you can do to really create the support systems and the structure to help people act on their convictions to be able
Sure.
to fix what bugs them. The cool thing is that once you figure it out and really do these basics consistently over time, is that improvement is contagious. It's like the bug. You can get like the CI bug. Like once you see waste in a process, it's like you can't unsee it. That's actually, I think, my favorite part of this whole continuous improvement culture thing is that it's like something they don't know is kind of how it comes across sometimes. You're like, I know this could be better. Like it's good, but I know it could be better. And the more people that are infected, quote unquote, the better. It'll create that culture that wants to win together. I guarantee it. That's one of the most energizing things about creating a culture of continuous improvement is that when done well, consistently over time, not a day, not a week, but month after month after month after quarter after year, like it's that energy and the enthusiasm that they're not going to find anywhere else, right? And so it's unique to your fingerprint with your team and your company culture that really creates that culture that wants to win together. The problem, though, I think, is that backsliding is rampant, and it's not just manufacturing. Like we've got some construction members, we've got some firms in architecture and engineering firms that are members as well. And it's like, Brad, you probably see this too. It's like 2 steps forward, 1 step back. And it's like, if only we could make 2 steps forward, period. Like
Yeah.
2 steps forward. Uh,
Yeah, and I think that
Go
one of
ahead.
the things that we've experienced is we have a best practice, an improvement plan in place, and we implement it. We start to see the benefits of it, but then yeah, you sort of get comfortable again, and to your point, you kind of backslide into the old habits unless there's just a continuous reminder and emphasis on the new best practices. So yeah, we've experienced it quite a bit over the years for sure.
It's like if you're not always, pushing and working forward, then you're starting to slide back. It's like you
Sure.
never can just stay still or stand still.
Yeah.
So I think, in dissecting this a little bit and you try to figure out like what's causing backsliding, I think you got to get into why it's happening and then why is that happening and then why is that happening and really ask yourself why, 3, 4, 5 times what I see, Brad, maybe you see some things too here, but priorities from customers constantly shifting. Like, oh, this is a priority. Oh, nope, now that is. Or in some cases, I have seen leaders that just move too fast. It's like you got to lock in that standard before you move on to the next thing. Otherwise, you're spinning plates and it's like, nope, this one's going to tumble over and you already went to go spin a new one. So
Yeah.
that's a big one. And then the other one that I've seen, and this is a big one for me, like you mentioned kind of in the intro there, like tools I think are prioritized over skills and transformational change. And the number one countermeasure that I'm proposing in how to prevent backsliding is that people identify with their work being improving the work. I'm an improver. I like to improve and I'm going to know that that is part of the job. I don't just do the job, I don't just execute on the job. I improve the job, I improve the work. And so baking that into the cake, the DNA, is part of what is really, really important to create that culture of continuous improvement.
Yeah, we've started to use the phrase be a performer, not a participant.
It's good. Yep, that's really good. And so, like, one of the biggest takeaways that I could give everybody on the webinar is this: applying lean tools is good. Like, there's a lot of tools out there. There's the fishbone, there's 5 why, there's root cause analysis, there's problem statements, there's standard work, there's value stream mapping, there's Kaizen rapid improvement. Like, the list goes on and on and on. But developing lean thinkers is better. You do not want people to just check the box, push the transaction forward. You want people to be thinking, okay, I just did that. Why did I do that? Was that the best way to do that? It took 3 steps. Could I get it down to two and have the same outcome or better? You want those lean thinkers. It's that, internal transformations are the reason that external transformations take hold. If you're in construction and you're doing last mile planning, like the people that think that way and have those tools, have those systems and processes, when they have that internal transformation, it starts with how you think. That's why you're going to hit your project milestones and deadlines. 100% why. So applying lean tools is good. There's a lot of them out there, but developing the thinkers, the lean thinkers, that's the best.
Okay.
So then people are kind of like, well, okay, what do you mean? What the heck is a lean thinker? Who is a lean thinker? And so I'm going to give you actually a 7 point definition. And the first one I just threw up here already. But I love this about lean thinkers. Once they're in the practice and in the process of looking at all work as a process, and every process has steps in it, and some of those steps add value, some of those steps don't add value. Let's identify the steps that don't add value, let's eliminate those. They start to get less defensive when you point out problems, and the reason is because they already know. Like, Brad, if you were my boss, you'd be like, Kirby, this is a problem. I'd be like, yeah, so I
Right.
know. Like, I did
Yep.
that 6 months ago. Is now the time to do something about it? Then let's partner up. Let's get some resources on it. Let's put a team together and let's do
Sure.
something about it. So, like, they just get less defensive. I think we've all been on teams when you're like, oh, careful, Kirby gets defensive. Once you got a lean thinker, there's less of that. Furthermore, they're always inquisitive. They're always asking why, and it's because they want to address those root causes, not just the symptoms that are on the surface. Like, don't just get rid of the smoke, get rid of the fire and aim at the base of the fire. I have also experienced that lean thinkers are very humble. They adapt when the facts change. They're very much focused on what's the math, what are the facts, what's the data tell us. And if that changes, in a month from now, because we have another data set, then yes, absolutely. I felt strongly about this. Now I feel strongly about that because the facts have changed.
It
They
reminds me
also,
of that book, Who Moved the Cheese kind of
yes.
concept. Just growth mentality, always willing to embrace that change is constant. Yeah.
Yeah, and they know that in order to be able to adapt and get the facts, they got to track performance. Like, whether it is hour by hour, which is often in construction, manufacturing, or engineering, or day by day or week by week, they're always comparing the plan versus the actual. We're tracking performance, and we've got to understand, like, we moved one thing, we moved the cheese. Now, was it a little bit better? And then how difficult was it to move the cheese, right? So they're just
Sure.
always thinking about that. And then in that same vein, they're looking to attack the process, not people. Like, there's just less emotion when, Brad, you and I are ganging up on this process, like the process to put together a webinar. Like, we don't like it. Let's join forces and let's make it better, right? And so that really unifies. And then we know that nothing's going to happen unless we have that bias towards action. It's one thing to think about it, sit at the conference table, but it's another to be out to where the work is actually getting done, and then being able to study it and then make the improvements. And then
Okay.
the last one, number 7 here in this definition of a lean thinker, and I'm going slow on purpose here because we really got to understand what it takes to become a lean thinker, is that like, we know that we can't solve all problems on our own. Like, we'll build skills in each other. Like, we will slow down, we'll do the webinar. I'm swamped right now, you guys. I am super busy. At the Alliance, we are growing like a weed, but I am still doing this webinar because it is super important that we invest in each other. We start to develop a thought process and start to develop more critical thinking skills, more of those industrial engineering skill sets, so that we've got more people solving more problems.
Sure. As far as these seven, say someone did a self-assessment or people did an assessment on me and they went down and they go, yep, Brad, 5 out of the 7,
Yep.
you're nailing, you kind of struggle with these. Like, where is sort of the tipping point, do you believe, where someone is a lean thinker? Is it all or nothing? You got to hit all 7 of these? Can you have a weakness in one of these areas? What are your thoughts on that?
You certainly can. Like it doesn't happen overnight. It comes with a lot of practice, project after project, and uh, cross-functional team after cross-functional team. And so you certainly could say, I'm a lean thinker. And it's really more about the process of becoming one
Okay.
than it is about saying, I've got 5 out of 7. It's
Okay.
really about that process to say and commitment to yourself, like I'm going to become that lean thinker. And then these behavioral traits and thought processes will be evident over time. Whether that takes you 3 months or a year, I couldn't tell you. But I do know that we consistently see these 7 things with the most mature lean thinkers.
And then one other follow-up. When you work with organizations, do you use this as sort of an assessment for whether someone is like how often do you reference back to this when you're working with organizations trying to create a continuous improvement culture?
We actually, these are the outputs, right?
Okay.
So, like, an output is, hey, someone didn't get defensive. They asked why. Demonstrate behavior that's a little bit more humble. They have a bias. Like, these are the outputs. We actually focus on the inputs. And so the inputs are more like, hey, here's a specific problem. Here's a specific task. And so we'll put them through the ringer, so to speak, in that regard, and then walk them through. We've got an 11-step process to learn skills, practice skills, and then we'll notice these behavioral traits because it's almost like they're required for success.
Okay. Yep. Got it.
The other question then is like, okay, once you say, okay, yep, I get it, Kirby. Like we want to develop lean thinkers. How we think is the first thing that's got to come. We know the rest will come. The process changes will come. The results will come. Happy customers, that'll come. But start with how people think. Then the question I usually get is, well, hey, can we calibrate on what's this lean thing and what exactly do you mean there? And so. Lean simplified, and I crossed out manufacturing because it's not. It's engineering, it's construction, it's architecture. Like across the board, lean simplified is these 3 things. Like if you don't have a standard, that's a problem. And lean can help with that. If let's say you have a standard, but you're not meeting the standard, like that's a problem. And
Okay.
lean can help with that. And then the other one here is like, let's say, okay, you got a standard, but you're exceeding that standard unnecessarily. Like that's a problem. You're over engineering, and lean can help with that. So like whether you are like costing, quoting, or like lead time. Like if you don't have a standard in those 3 areas, for example, like that's a problem. Or if you have standards in safety, quality, cost, and delivery in manufacturing, but you're not meeting those standards, that's a problem. Or if you have like excess inventory, ultra early deliveries, or field ops is there too early and then there's nothing there to build, like you're over exceeding expectations. You got there early, unnecessarily needed, that's a problem.
Sure.
So
Yep.
it really is about these 3 things being problems, and lean can help you. So, like for example, one company, Gemini, they have a lot of signs in the construction industry that are engineered to order. And so, if they want to expand their portfolio, like they've told us, to include fabrication, and they don't know how to quote it, like that's the problem. No standard. What are we doing here? Or another one, quick example, fast signs. They're supposed to be fast. Like if their lead time is
It's in their
48,
name. Yeah.
like, this is an obvious one, right? Lead time's supposed to be 48 hours and it took a week. You didn't meet the standard. That's a problem. I
Yeah,
could have put
sure.
Jimmy John's up on the screen, right?
Yeah.
Freaky fast, right? And then another one, heavily engineered, massive construction projects. Next time you go to any hockey game or you go to any football game, basketball game, you got a big screen that's your scoreboard in the center of that arena. It's made by and installed by Daktronics. But if they're specking it out at like a 12K screen and your eye can only see like 6K, like that's over engineered. Like that's a problem. You overdid it, guys. You spent way too much
Sure.
time and money on that stuff.
Yeah.
Right? So I think you kind of get the point.
Yep.
So then people say, okay, great, calibrated on definitions. Let's rock and roll. Let's get started. Like it really can be straightforward when you're committed, you pick a pilot area, you educate early adopters, you do create this island of excellence, and then you've got to win over top brass, and let's if you are on the executive team and you're on the call, great. You got to get everybody on the executive team uh, aligned on what the goals are here. So it's really as straightforward as saying, hey, in our pilot area, let's pick a process. Let's pick some natural leaders. Let's close some real performance gaps, not just put lipstick on a pig. And then with influence, let's win over top brass, not any kind of formal authority. So just to go a little bit deeper here, give you some strategies. So like picking a pilot area, the strategy that I have worked and what we have done time and time again is to pick an area that has got a low effort, high impact. Like, wouldn't it be nice if we could do a little bit of work and make a really, really big impact? Like, wouldn't it be nice? So to do that, you got to look for some of these things. You got to look where finance might look and say, okay, how can we align with them on how this stuff is going to be measured? So it's not funny money. Finance will generally say, okay, that's great, but when are you going to start to cut expenses? And so you've got to really align with finance, then look for that low hanging fruit. And honestly, with low hanging fruit, it could just be like, hey, we already have a standard in place, but we're just not meeting the standard, right? We're here, are the standards here? We want to be here. What can we do to close the gap? And then write a draft problem statement. So, I mean, a draft problem statement, it's really just a matter of saying, hey, our delivery is March 10th. Like, we've got to deliver these materials on March 10th. They're only going to be there on the 12th. And so we've got a 2-day gap. That's our problem. Simple as that. Like it's a draft problem statement. And then identifying natural leaders. Like the big thing here is to collaborate with people early on that are people that want to make improvements. They're usually the person on the team where you're like, hey, would anyone want to? And before you finish the sentence, they're like, I'll do it. Right. And so identify
Oh,
those natural leaders and don't worry about titles. Don't look at titles. You know that, other people go to them naturally to help solve problems
Stanley. Oh,
and stuff like
oh, you
that.
might have to go back about 30 seconds. You froze up for me there just for a little bit, Kirby.
Oh, okay. So
Uh,
we talked about finance. We talked
yep.
about the like low-hanging fruit where there's a gap in performance. You're not meeting
Yep.
standard. And then
Problem statement we got.
that
Yep.
draft problem statement. And then the
Yep.
natural leaders. The only point I'll reiterate then on the natural leaders is don't look at their titles. Don't
Okay.
look at a title. Look at someone on the team that other people go to naturally to help solve problems. Someone that you would consider an early adopter, and someone that values the success of others. Those are the natural leaders. If you want, two or three of them on this initial team, that's the best way to get started. I'll
Yep.
rewind 20 years ago. This was the first, they called it a Kaizen event. And I was on this team, and they picked me because they wanted some fresh eyes outside of their four walls. And you could see if you kind of zoom in here, or squint, you could see some other team members. So not a big team, 7 of us. And they had these 2 areas inside this factory. And they said, yeah, honestly, it's just it's just frustrating to walk back and forth between these two areas. Like, let's just fix what bugs us. And all the back and forth is just annoying. So the team was like, yeah, that makes sense. Let's do it. And then, the managers were like, yeah, and we're paying you guys to walk back and forth. And why are we paying you all this
Right.
extra money? Like, that's annoying. So we had some early adopters. We aligned on finance. We knew the labor savings rate was agreed upon, even though I wasn't privy to that information. And so that was a key point. And then, we put together this draft problem statement. So there's just a few key points here. This is a sketch that basically said, hey, we were walking back and forth for about 4 hours per week. We think we can get it down to about 1 hour per week. And so our goal was 1 hour per week. Our actual was 4 hours per week. And so that is a draft problem statement for you. We're not getting into like what's causing this stuff. It's really just the gap, the duration, and then what was the impact. So the impact, as you kind of scan it here, is it was frustrating for us to walk back and forth and costing the company 1 month's pay annually. Like we were aligned.
Yep.
We're not jumping into what's causing all the back and forth at this point in time. In fact, this is my first like bit of caution for people. So like if you've ever put together a team and they have a goal and then you just kind of hand off the execution, like you are guilty. You are guilty of doing lean to people, not with them. That's a really, really important point. It's a misstep I see a lot of leaders make. And so once you get to the point where you have that draft problem statement, then you've got to make sure that you avoid that misstep by doing step number two here is educating the early adopters. Because everybody wants to like jump in to solve it, solve it, solve it, solve it. And I'm saying go slow here. I'm saying slow is smooth and smooth is fast. That's what I'm saying. You want to create the pull, not push. I mean, we literally had over 5,000 people in training in 2025. And we know for a fact that some of them are hostages. They were pushed. They're pushed into that workshop.
Sure.
And so you do not want to develop hostages. You want people that are those lean thinkers that really want to do it. And so you share that draft problem statement with them. You help them calibrate on some of the math and some of the facts and some of the data. Then educate them on, it says RCA, root cause analysis, and then common countermeasures. This is where you start to get into some of the tools.
Yeah.
And so, RCA is like the 5 why technique or a fishbone technique. And then give them, it's anything from, a deadline to complete the training. It's anything from a book club to a podcast series to even digital courses these days. There's a lot of great digital courses that are out there that can help educate people on a couple of these tools.
Do you happen to know anyone who has digital courses, Kirby? Right.
Honestly, you could even we like to be as generous as we can. You could check out our YouTube channel. It'll get you started. We've got a lot of great training videos up there.
Awesome.
But then set a deadline to complete the training. Don't just willy-nilly it. Set the tone. You're serious. Like, here's the training. Here's how it's going to be used to help solve this problem, and then debrief, right? You get to the point where then now you bring the team together and allow for maybe it's an hour to say, okay, great. We've got a problem statement here. We've got a goal. We know where we're currently at. You guys were walking around for like 4 hours. We want to get it down to one. What do you think is causing all the back and forth? And you use the fishbone diagrams, you use the 5 why to start to explore what could be causing the gap, what could be causing us to walk all over the place. And so this was the team back in the day. Yes, there I am, far left corner. I think I was 22 back then.
Wow.
But I absolutely love this team. Maybe some of you will recognize the company, Mate Precision Tooling. And Daryl on the far right there, he led us through the training. There were no digital courses 20 years ago, so we all got up early, met at the factory, got there by like 6:30, 7 o'clock, and we'd spend a couple of hours going through some of these tools, the RCA, the root cause analysis. But these are the early adopters. like you look at this team, I'm so proud of this team and knowing these people, like we wanted to fix all the back and forth. We started to learn about lean and waste and what value add versus non-value add is and uh and Daryl, like he was just honestly, he was just one step ahead of us in the process. He didn't have all the answers, but he knew the process to lead us through. And that's what it took, I think, to be a really great facilitator at the time.
That's awesome.
And so we knew then, like, hey, we got to solve a problem. We don't want to just implement 5S, which is another misstep. We wanted to create this kind of island of excellence, we called it, with this area where we were going back and forth. And so that was the goal. And I noticed that Daryl had this. Daryl would have people come to him, and this is the caution here. And I know you've all experienced this. He would say, hey, or he'd have people that say, hey, like, here's a problem, and here's what I want to do about it. And he would get overwhelmed because like he's got this team, he's got another team, and then he's got like his day job. And I think we've all been there where you got a lot of people coming at you. You're the supervisor, manager, maybe a director, and they say this, like, here's the problem, here's what I want to do about it. And then you say, well, hey, for every one problem you bring me two solutions. And I'm like, I'm here to tell you, don't say that. Like, I get it. Like, you want a buffer because you've got so many problems thrown at you on one particular day or a week. You're like, I just need to breathe. Just let me breathe and think sometimes. And so you need that buffer. And so I would actually encourage you to replace it and ask a different question. So when you feel overloaded and you got a team, they're excited and they just start throwing problems at you, and you want to have them go back to the drawing board and create a little bit of space, ask this question. Ask them, what do you think is causing this? Because again, you want to develop lean thinkers, people that use the Socratic method to be able to solve problems. And once you have a clear problem statement, which is a gap in performance, again, like no standard, not meeting the standard, over excess on the standard, then you got to figure out what's causing it. And so you just ask this question. And if they're like, I don't know, then you're like, great, go think about what could be causing it. And then let's come back to me. So you still get that buffer and you still
Sure.
just get through this one question, the opportunity to kind of coach someone through the problem solving process.
Yep. I like that.
Like it helps people understand the relationship between cause and effect. That's kind of the little um, kind of underlying goal here is understanding relationships, causal and effect relationships. It's really, really important that people develop that skill,
Okay.
regardless of exactly what you call it.
Yep. So along these lines, there was a question posted.
Oh,
You certainly have addressed, touched on some potential maybe pitfalls, but what are the question posed? What are the biggest mistakes company can make when trying to implement continuous improvement? I'm gonna just speak for us first, and then you can expand on it. But when you talk about creating that island of excellence, I can say already that I've already identified an area with when we've tried to make an improvement. I think I'm already thinking we pushed it out to too big of a group too fast,
yeah.
and we didn't isolate it and find the sort of the high performers.
Yep.
So anyway, what are your thoughts on that as far as what are some, what are the biggest mistakes companies make when trying to implement continuous improvement?
Yeah, and what you said is really important. Like I'd always choose to go deep and then ensure success so that you can point to what good
Yeah,
looks like.
sure.
Because people want to know, well, what's the standard? Okay, great. How do we meet the standard? Here's an example. This is what good looks like. So go deep, don't go wide. And oftentimes I'll see people go, oh, 5S, that's part of this lean thing, right? Let's clean the place up. Yeah, everybody clean your desk in the office and everybody out on the floor, organize all your tools and don't bring your toolbox in because we're going to throw it away anyway.
Okay.
And it's just awful. That advice, just jumping in with 5S and going company wide it's just not good. Not good at
Yeah.
all. It's the by far the number one mistake companies make.
Okay. All right. And then we had another quick one posted. How do you encourage employees at all levels to identify problems and suggest improvements without feeling like they're being critical of existing processes?
Yeah. The number one way to make sure that people don't feel like either you are or others are being overly critical is to train everybody. And I know I'm the person selling the training, so how convenient is it for me to do
Right.
that? But the reality is you need everybody speaking the same language. And if everybody knows that we're all looking to improve processes, then I know, Brad, when you come to me and you say, "Hey, Kirby, look at this process. I think there's an opportunity to improvement." Back to that point about being a lean thinker. I already know. I'm not getting defensive because I already know. And it's just a matter of prioritizing when we go after that problem together.
Yeah.
That's the
Awesome.
number one way to do it. Train everybody in this core concept. This is like the most important concept. Look at all of your work as a process. Every process has steps. Every step either adds value or it doesn't. And if it doesn't, you need to eliminate it. And then you say, Kirby, what's the definition of what value add is versus non-value add? That's where we get into the tools. There's 8 forms of waste. And then you'd start to see those forms of waste in all of your work. And you'd actually recognize, Brad, I'd look at your work and you could look at mine. Oftentimes, the first time you look at someone's work from a process perspective, Len, you'd be like, whoa, less than 5% of what you do is value add. And you'd go,
Sure.
what? How is that possible?
Right.
It's true from company to company to company. I've gone through that initial shock so many times, it's less shocking. I just encourage others to brace themselves.
Yeah. Yep. Great. Great questions. Thank you for those that posted those. Moving on.
So set a deadline. You're going to make a large investment of your time if you're leading this effort and you're just getting started. Like I said, you're going deep, like you're getting up early, you're staying out late, you're getting to know the team members, you're getting to know how they're feeling about how things are going so far. You're getting to know maybe where they're hung up on certain steps in the process. You're getting to calibrate on their understanding of the tools. You can see the tools that we use for this particular project. And you're the one responsible for making sure that you can tell the story and that they can tell the story about the current state, how bad things were, how messed up they were, the problems that they solved, the causes of those problems, what they did to make sure that they could address those causes with countermeasures using the tools. Some worked, some didn't. And then you also got to make sure that they, hit the outcome they were looking to accomplish, hit the goals that they wanted to accomplish. You're taking that after picture. So as a leader, you're investing a lot of time and going through this particular set of steps to get to that ideal future state. So this is after. This was our team 20 years ago. This is Becky, and this is the tool crib and the tool station combined into one, clean, pristine. We did apply a lot of the tools, but it helps paint the picture of what an island of excellence looked like for us at the time, 20 years ago. Credit to the team. Techs were happy. They didn't have to go back and forth, like I said, between the tool crib and the crib preset area. They had everything they needed in one area. The best news is we hit that goal, that target. Went from 4 down to 1.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So then once you have that, that's your success story. Like that's what I said, you can point to what good looks like. Now you got to get, the rest of the top brass involved. And the strategy here is to use your influence. Don't use any kind of authority or formal authority. You really want it to be organic. And when I look at what gets in the way of, executives and the senior leadership team being on board is that uh, you don't always know exactly what each functional leader wants. And so it's a common cause of dysfunction when you think, oh, well, operation wants speed. We got to figure that out. Finance wants cost reduction. That's a separate thing. Engineering wants precision. Oh, we got to figure that out. HR, they want engagement. We got to figure that out. And so the alignment isn't necessarily always automatic. You do need this team and your team, like I said, speak in the same language. And so to do it, you really got to showcase your natural leaders, showcase their results, have them join some sort of community group where they can see other companies doing this as well. So that third party influence. And then they can align HR, ops, engineering, finance, they can all align on improvement even though they want speed, precision, engagement, cost reduction, and you'd think they're all separate, it's actually improvement. That's not one more thing, on our list. It supports everything. It supports everything that we want. And so you align around improvement. And that's how you can start to get alignment with that top brass. The other thing that has been a big milestone with getting them engaged is, like I said, showcasing natural leaders, doing the celebratory report out. Maybe it's over lunch, where you have
Okay.
those individuals that were on the team. I mentioned Daryl, Becky, and some of the others. They shared their part. They shared, some of the wins, some of the losses. What was it like before? What's it like after? But having executives listen in to those stories can be really, really impactful and help tip them over to want to invest in doing more now that you've gotten a really good foundational start.
Sure.
So everything's centered on just getting started. So, like, pick the pilot area, educate early adopters, create that island of excellence so you can point to what good looks like, and then use your influence, not any kind of formal authority, to win over top brass. And then there's always the yeah buts. Like, okay, sounds good, Kirby, but we're different, right? We're in construction. We're a bank. We're an engineering firm, right? And so everyone says they're different, and I would say you're right. You are different, but don't overcomplicate it. Every business has a standard that they want to meet, and if you don't, that's a problem. Lean can help. Or if you have a standard and you're not meeting it, that's a problem. Lean can help. Or if you have a standard and then you met it and then exceeded it, you overdid it, spending too much time and money, lean can help. So don't overcomplicate it. Know that and center your continuous improvement culture on it. Another one is our functions don't see eye to eye, or in some cases, eye to eye to eye, and there's just total dysfunction. I would say that these events can be cross-functional and bring people together. You can bring people together on a problem. Usually on day one, in my experience, when you do like a Kaizen event or any kind of improvement event together, day one, it's kind of like, okay, I might be here begrudgingly, but I'm here. And then these people are kind of weird, but you know what? I'll stick around and I'm here day two. And then day two, you think, okay, these people are not as weird. I have more in common with them than I thought. And actually, I do want to contribute to helping solve this problem. And it's usually around day two that functional leaders will start to see eye to eye when they start to work together because they see they're part of the problem.
So when you say our functions don't see eye to functions, just as an example, could be departmental, HR, finance, just kind
Yep.
of like you talked about earlier. Okay. I just
Yep.
wanted to make sure I got it. Okay.
Yep. The other one I get is, hey, process improvement, lean, all that stuff sounds great. Ours is actually driven by a strong personality and, they come and go. So we've had our starts and stops. So what should we do with that? And at first, I would applaud you for recognizing it because yeah, that is a problem. It really should be driven by a planning process, and your planning process should have data that identifies areas where there is no standard, and that's a problem. Or you have a standard and you're not meeting it, that's a problem. Or, like I said, time and time again, hey, you got the standard and you over engineered it, like way too much time and money, that's a problem. So you need to have a process with data that identifies those. It could be in the forms of like EOS, Company Rocks and Rocks, or in the form of Hoshin Connery with Kaizen events and value stream maps, but it's got to be centered on your planning process, not a strong personality.
Okay.
And then the last one here is there is still this lingering fear of, hey, if we make all these improvements, are we going to need everybody here? Are we going to start cutting heads? Because the finance department, they said, hey, we would like some of that. And the reality is that that could happen. It has happened. And if you start doing that, who's going to want to make any kind of improvements? Like, it's just not a good environment. It creates the exact opposite culture than what you want. So you do need to communicate up front and collaborate with those that can say this. There will be no layoffs as a result of making improvements. And then those leaders, they have to have 100% say-do ratio. Otherwise, your continuous improvement culture, dead on arrival. No, I get it. There may be other reasons for layoffs. And so you must be crystal clear on what those reasons are. Because if you associate those with productivity, process improvement of any kind, it's not going to work out for you.
Makes sense.
So those are usually the questions that I get. I'm sure there's more questions. Oftentimes we'll get people that will say, "Hey, how can I engage? How can I continue to learn?" And so if you become a member of the Manufacturers Alliance, like some of the companies that you see on the screen now, you can continue to learn more, get into the details. I covered a lot of what and why, not a lot of how to. So just know that there's a lot more to learn, and you can really scale this stuff up. We've had one member company, Nortech Systems, that applied these first four steps and more, in terms of learning to see waste, learning to map processes, and then learning to do these transformations, get into problem statements and getting to root causes, putting in those countermeasures. And they saw actually a 50% reduction in turnover. So people were so happy with being able to fix what bugs them, like I started with, that they started to stick with the team that much longer. So if you want to invest in your team, give them the tools and resources to be successful, connect with people they can trust via our community groups, really see what's possible via our webinars, and then develop new skills when it works for them. Via our digital courses, you could become a member. And we can go even deeper. I'll leave this up on the screen. If there's any more questions, we can get into it. uh, where one of our instructors, Matt Can, says, "Hey, now that you've gotten started, these first four steps, you've probably got even more great ideas. You've got an energized team, those early adopters. And then 2 weeks goes by, and then what? Nothing more has changed. You got to keep the pedal to the metal. You got to keep going." And so that's what this next webinar that we're offering at no cost is really all about.
Love it.
Yeah.
I've got a couple questions here posted, and certainly for those of you that if you have any additional questions, let's get through these two and see where we're at. How can companies ensure continuous improvement isn't siloed within one department, but rather embraced by the entire organization?
Yep. Yeah, this one I think I would go back to. You do need to train everyone on the basics.
Okay.
Not everyone needs to know everything, but everyone should know the basics so that every functional area of the business knows how to be able to evaluate their work as a process. Every process has steps. Some add value, some don't. Let's identify and eliminate those that don't. That way, it's not just one functional area. And scaling those up with different systems and processes can get and is more complicated, but that's where everybody starts.
Okay. Thank you. And then another question, and I like this one because I mean, we've experienced, and I'm sure everyone has, where, sort of that set in their way kind of mentality, especially when you have very experienced people, tenured people who've been with companies for 10, 15, 20 years. And the question is, how do you help the folks who don't want to improve because that's the way we've always done it?
Yep.
Or should you just, and then they add, should you just focus on the adapters and not the laggards?
Focus on the early adopters for sure, the people that
Okay.
raise their hand and say, pick me. Ensure success in your island of excellence so you can point
Okay.
to what good looks like. And I guarantee that you'll have people that say, "Oh, wow, Brad, like that looks really good over there." And I know that that was frustrating for you to having to like find stuff all the time and like looks like things are flowing better for you and you seem happier. They're going to want to be a part of that. So you'll go from your early adopters, the 20%, and then eventually you make your way to, like the next 60%. You get 80% of the organization on board. And so I would start there and work with the people that want to work. The other category, it's like citizens that are against virtually everything, right? It's the cave people. And so I wouldn't work with them early on.
Okay. And then, in fact, I think you kicked it off with just that this is infectious, and you kicked it off with kind of that analogy, and that's sort of the answer to that question is it will be infectious, and but also I'm assuming that at some point the organization starts moving in a direction, and as everyone gets on board, people have to decide whether they want to be on board with that change, or maybe the company's not for them anymore, or
Right. Right. I mean, the reality is they may think the grass is greener somewhere else. I get it. I've seen it. And I've even seen people go, "Yeah, I thought it would be better over there." And it's not. And
yeah.
But I get where people want to kind of test the waters and they think, I like the way it is. I even worked really hard to get it to be this way, and I don't want to change it. And so that's why to really make improvements stick, make it last, and engage those people, like you've got to have two massive inputs. Someone has to want to fix what bugs them. And if nothing bugs them, like, how are you supposed to fix it? And I would use those words specifically, like, hey, we'd love to partner with you, collaborate with you, work with you on fixing what bugs you. And then you also need to align it with, well, what are the company's strategic priorities? Because if it's not aligned with the company's strategic priorities, then yeah, there is some like thought to, well, I'll paint a picture here, moving the chairs in the Titanic, right? Like you could be more efficient, but is this ship going down? Because the ship's going down. It's not attached to those strategic priorities. Got to keep the
Sure.
ship up and running.
Yep. Yep. Well, good. I will. I'll wrap up here. I'll keep an eye out just in case someone posts any last minute. First of all, I want to thank all the participants today, and certainly those of you that joined us for multiple webinars. Thank you so much. Hopefully, you got some value from it. I know I certainly did. Kirby, I want to personally thank you for taking the time to put these together and present. Every single one of them, I had takeaways from and just really, really excited. Glad we're able to share this information with some of our network, our clients, and such. And then the last, I've saved it, to the kind of the last minute. Certainly, for those of you out there, if you're struggling at all on the recruiting side of things, please consider contacting us. We would love to have a conversation about how Conic can partner with you to really streamline and create efficiency within your recruiting process. So thank you again, everyone. Kirby, at some point, I'm going to bug you maybe to put another series together, third or fourth quarter. I know you've got a lot on your plate, so appreciate you taking the time. Thanks again, everyone, for joining us. Have a wonderful day. Take care.
Thank you.